Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start the class with some prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhuvaswaha, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satyamya. तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्या मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गम्या ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति. Let's open our books. Yog Darshan. We are on chapter 2. And we looked at verse number 44 last time. And then Rishi Patanjali is saying that if we do the Swadhyaya, we'll be in the company of, time comes when we are in the company of our Ishta Devata. Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samparyoga. Very powerful statement. Now let's start with verse number 45. Because when we are in the company of our Ishta Devata, that really opens the floodgate of the highest Samadhi. So this is what he is talking about here. So all these sutras, they are linked together. We cannot just jump to Samadhi without following the other yam and the niyams. We cannot just keep on hurting people physically or orally or any other way and think that we're going to reach Samadhi or we'll be in the company of our Ishta Devata. That's not possible. Okay, so all of these steps are very, very important. So now if we have followed all these steps, Samadhi will come now. He says, samadhisiddhirishvarapranidhanat. Samadhi is that state of mind beyond cognition. That's why it's also called a super absorption. Samadhi. Siddhi, yogic accomplishment. Ishwar, all-pervading divine being. He defined Ishwar for us earlier. He said, beyond time and space and absolutely untouched by afflictions. That's Ishwar. Pranidhanat, from surrender. What kind of a surrender? Trustful surrender. Not just a superficial surrender. So from trustful surrender to Ishwar comes Samadhi. It is very important to remember that Rishi Patanjali dedicated 7 sutras to this subject in the first chapter. Sutra number 23 all the way to Sutra number 29. And here he is repeating Sutra number 23 from chapter 1 actually. This is significant. Because the sutra, tradition of the sutra style writing demands that author avoids repetition. Author is supposed to be very precise. So over here, Rishi Patanjali is communicating to us with this repetition. So that means it has to be very important. So he is quite precise in regarding trustful surrender. He says this is the doorway to the highest Samadhi. Back in Samadhi Pad, the first chapter, immediately after introducing the idea of trustful surrender to Ishwar, he had a pretty long explanation of the nature of Ishwar. Verse number 24 to 26. And then after that, he states that Ishwar is represented by mantra, and he explained that mantra jap turns our consciousness inward and removes the obstacles. So this is what we learned. So these 7 sutras make clear that Ishwar is an absolute being, beyond time, space, and the law of cause and effect. It has no form and no name. It is omniscient. But how can we surrender ourselves to something we do not and cannot know? Because in this world, we know everything through our senses, through our mind. And we cannot know God through our senses. It doesn't have a name, it doesn't have a form. But when we read this sutra, as a continuation of the sutra number 44, then we see that what yogis are experiencing. Because they have traveled this path of not just the swadhyay, but the trustful surrender also. Surrender to Ishvara, and the divine grace opens the door to Samadhi. So this is always a grace of God. So for all intents and purposes, rishis, the seers, are Ishwar actually. If we don't see God in our Guru, we are missing the point actually. Because sometimes we look at the Guru only as the body. But when we can start seeing the essence in the Guru is really God. And as we continue our sadhana, our mind becomes increasingly infused with the seeing power of the seer. Our ordinary mind, it gets transformed into extraordinary mind. The term he used earlier was a buddhi sattva. Because that buddhi of ours becomes unalloyed, luminous, intelligent. And with this kind of a buddhi, we are able to see the seer in its fullness. We even see that seer's oneness with Ishwar because we become seer also then. Our mind is no longer our mind. It is the mind of the seer. Because we really see the totality of the truth at this point through the eyes of the seer. This seeing is, remember, utterly different from any form of seeing and knowing familiar to us in the objective world. This kind of experience is all-consuming. It annihilates all mental tendencies, deep-rooted afflictions, ignorance, distorted self-identity, attachment, aversion, and fear. All of it is gone once you have this kind of a seeing. All curiosity regarding who we are, where we came from, where we will go after we die, how long we will stay in the company of the sage that blessed us with this unique experience, it vanishes. We saw that in verse number 51 in chapter 1. This is how we reach the highest samadhi gracefully and even spontaneously. The highest caliber seer is called Mahapreta. Maha means great. Pret means gone forever. Actually, it refers to one who is dead. So Mahapret is one so well dead. There is no possibility of being reborn. That is Mahapret. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Rudra, those are all called Mahapret. Nameless, formless, indescribable. That's who they are. We'll see continuation of this in chapter 4 again. Rishi Patanjali will tell us with another little term, Chit Shakti. So we'll touch upon it again then. But from our standpoint of our practice and experience, we got to remember that Ishwar is all pervading. It's absolute. And there's a oneness, even though we don't feel our oneness with the Ishwar, but we should feel these seers' oneness with the Ishwar. It is the seeing power of these divine beings that sees the mantras. That's why they are called seers. It is the seeing power of pure consciousness. And that's why there's only one seer, the Ishwar. You can always also think it like this, that rishis are the eyes of the Ishwar. So we make an attempt to see Ishwar through the eyes of these rishis. That's also Yog Sadhana. When we invest all our physical and mental resources in our practice, most importantly, the practice of tap and swadhyaya. And we become exhausted with our self-effort, we are automatically in a state of surrender. So we have done what we needed to do. We say, God, you do it now. So according to the Bhakti Sutra, we learned in the Narad Bhakti Sutras, the state of surrender is not engendered by our self-effort. Surrender is not dependent on our desire or plan. It dawns on its own. That is a complete surrender. The only thing that precedes the experience of surrender is Mahad Kripa, the grace of great soul, the seer. The seers do not plan to confer their grace on us. Grace is totally unconditional. That's why Naraji said it is durlabh, hard to acquire. But he said once it's acquired, its effect is unfailing, amog. These are the terms we learned in that scripture, amog and durlabh. We receive and retain grace only through grace. Upon receiving grace, what do we see? We see grace everywhere then. Because we see that gift of life as a human being is a grace. Living in this world is a grace. And ultimately attaining freedom from cycle of birth and death is grace also. We are thrilled that ourselves have become the eyes of the seers. We know beyond doubt that these are not just words. We can see what the seers saw. That's a samadhi. And this realization frees us from all desires. So this is one way we can look at it. If our material desires, worldly desires, are reducing, that is also a grace of Guru. All desires, including the desire to attain samadhi, only then the door to samadhi opens. It is important to remember that this extraordinary achievement, samadhi siddhi, is the result of an extraordinary level of trustful surrender. That's what he's teaching us through this verse. And this is an experiential state. We can reach only when we commit ourselves to a methodical practice. And each of us has our own starting point. We cannot compete with others. We can get inspired by others, but we are all on the path of our own. Where we start our practice of trustful surrender depends on how clearly we comprehend Swadhyaya and how sincerely, fearlessly, and joyfully we embrace the guiding grace of the divine being. We have to develop that close relationship. And in order to develop the relationship, we got to spend some time. Any relationship, it requires time. So we comprehend the transforming power of this guiding grace in proportion to the purity and the discerning power of our mind. So in other words, purer the mind, more the grace. And which also, purity happens because of tap. So tap is important. So that's why these three, tap, swadhyaya, and Ishwar pranidhan, they go hand in hand. And together, they breathe the life into the other limbs of yoga. Tap, swadhyaya, Ishwar pranidhan. Without these three, yam and niyams, they just remain confined to the realm of ethics and morality. Asanas, they remain a set of exercises. Sure, they will enhance physical strength, but just exercise of the body. Pranayam will improve our vitality, strength, and stamina. Nothing more. If we do not practice tap, swadhyaya, Ishwar pranidhan, and pratyahar is merely an excellent tool for relaxing our nervous system. So our sadhana remains only at a physical level. And although dharana, dhyan, and samadhi will enhance our mental concentration, but will have not much spiritual value if we don't practice tap, swadhyaya, Ishwar pranidhan. So in light of this understanding, Patanjali is exploring the remaining limbs of yoga. So the next one is asana. So just to go back, we have looked at so far the first two limbs, yam and the niyam. Yam had 5 parts: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. And Niyam also had 5: Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhan. And very clearly, he is telling us that when we are firmly established in any one of them, what is the benefit? So the last verse where he talked about Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God, only then we'll reach Samadhi. So now let's look at asana. Sthirasukham aasanam. Sthir means steady, stable, unmoving. Sukham, pleasant, comfortable. Aasanam, the posture. A stable and comfortable posture is asana. When we just look at this line, it does not seem particularly significant. Like simply by being steady and comfortable, we accomplish the third limb of yoga. And we also know that asana lies at the heart of Hatha Yoga. Most of the people know yoga only by the asanas. And the simplest meaning of asana is posture. So in the context of Hatha Yoga, posture means arranging our limbs and organs so our body becomes acutely aware of the forces of her and her. Her stands for solar and her stands for lunar. Or you can say masculine and the feminine energy. And when we combine other techniques of Hatha Yoga, like a pranayama, the practice of postures increases our sensitivity to solar and lunar energies. And what happens with that? It unblocks, balances, it nourishes the energies. So here asana is introduced in the context of yoga as a means for reaching samadhi though. So which requires sitting in meditation for a prolonged period. So if you learn how to sit in a stable, steady position, only then your mind will be steady. So according to the tradition, yogic tradition, when asana, pranayam and pratyahara are practiced in light of the yam and the niyams, this Hatha Yoga energizes us so that we can do our practice, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And that's when the transformative power of Hatha Yoga helps us to transform our mind also. Because body and mind, they are together. So when Hatha Yoga embraces the techniques of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, it emerges at Raj Yoga. In other words, Raj Yoga is the full expression of the Hatha Yoga. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika, very clear it is mentioned that it's not possible to master Hatha Yoga without Raj Yoga, or Raj Yoga without Hatha Yoga. They are like two branches, they support each other. We need a strong body also, and we need a strong mind also. We need a stable body, and we need a stable mind also. So they need to be practiced together. So in conjunction with pranayam and pratyahar, the practice of asana prepares the ground for the practices of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And those are we'll see that last three limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So in order to cultivate a steady and comfortable sitting posture, we definitely need to take our body through a range of postures. So in the morning when we do our Hatha Yoga practice, there are certain postures we do standing up. We bend forward, bend backward. We do some reclining, some sitting, some twisting, some inversion. All those are important. Only then the practice of asana energize and restore the harmonious functions of all the limbs and the organs. So we must practice asanas methodically, in the proper sequence, and with a full faith. It's very important. In the following sutra, he is giving us a golden rules for refining and perfecting both the sitting and non-sitting postures. So this is a continuation of verse number 46. Because ultimately, sure, we need a steady and still posture to meditate. But in order to have that kind of a body, we got to remember to do the other asanas properly also. So that movement of the energy is smooth. 47. prayatnashaithilyanantasamapattibhyam. Prayatna. See, pra and yatana. Pra means precise, supreme, or special. Yatan means effort. So special effort. Prayatana. Shaithilya, state of being relaxed. It's almost like a stress-free state. Anant. Anant is without an end, limitless, infinite. Anant. Anant is the name of Shesh Nag also. Anant. Samapati, mental absorption. Samapati word we saw in the first chapter too. So perfection in asana is attained by loosening of tension caused by effort and by mental absorption in the infinite. Okay, so very clearly he is telling us how to do the asanas. So he's just telling us the criteria for perfection in asana. According to him, precision is more important than how long and how vigorously we practice. And precision in asana has two components. So first, the effort involved must not cause fatigue or create tension. So effort we are making, but make sure that you do the effort, make the effort in a right way. And second, when we reach the peak of the posture, we must stay there for a while and allow our mind to be absorbed in the space. That's why it's very important to just bring the mind towards one of those chakras in that part of the body. So you are not helping your body only, you are helping your mind also. So practicing asana effortlessly is a subtle and highly technical process. During the practice of asana, we need to apply the force of will to pull our body out of its initial inertia. Because body doesn't want to move, but we are telling the body gently, firmly, move, stretch, go into that position. We can choose to practice asana with a significant effort or with relatively less effort. Because effort causes resistance. Resistance creates tension. And tension constrict our cells and tissues. And sometimes with all this, we are constricting our blood vessels. They cannot supply sufficient nutrients to our limbs and organs. So constriction stiffens our connective tissues, causing a reduction in the overall elasticity of our body. If we apply force, it will cause pain. Pain further intensifies tension. So that's why we got to listen to our body. What is really happening there when we do any asana? Is it painful? Or do we feel the stretch? Because we can, if we just try too hard, our body is not ready, we can injure ourselves. So, but if we do not make an effort, how can we advance our practice? Somebody might say. How can we do it? The solution is to make an effort effortlessly. Effortlessly. And how can we do that? Here is how. First, find the baseline of your comfort. That's why when we are doing practicing with somebody else, never ever compete with somebody else. You got to find your own baseline. In order to do that, you got to lie on your back, relax, breathe gently, smoothly. Pay attention to the gentle, even flow of your breath, your heart, lungs, internal organs. Relax them. Nervous system, brain, they should be calmed down when we are practicing. Your connective tissues should soften. They should become smooth. And after that, get up and do some simple stretches. Bring your body to a place where you'll be able to assess your baseline comfort. So that's why it is encouraged not to have any outside music. Quietness when you do the asanas. I know it has become fashionable to have a music while doing the asanas, but the yogis, they discourage that. So know your body, know your baseline, then move into your desired posture. So if you are practicing and you want to go into that forward bend, you're bending forward. Bend forward until you approach your threshold of discomfort. So don't push yourself too much. Just bend enough. Do not go beyond your current range of flexibility and strength. But stay there. Stay there. So in other words, continue bending forward until you reach the point where your brain is registering a physical and mental response. Know what's happening. Because if you have not reached the threshold of discomfort, your brain will not register a response. So then stay in that pose effortlessly. So that is called making an effort effortlessly. But then you got to make sure that you keep on breathing too. Don't hold the breath, because when you hold the breath, you are holding tension also inside you. Keep on breathing. Because if you are not making a deliberate effort to move deeper into the stretch, and if your attention is on the smooth, gentle, even flow of your breath, you will know that sooner or later you can cross that threshold also. So combine your breathing, coordinate it. This is what Patanjali means by prayatnashaithilyanantasamapattibhyam, effortless effort. So each time we repeat the practice of any asana, I mean, we do several asanas, any asana, just do it slowly. Try to see what's happening internally. So practice a posture effortlessly pushes the threshold of discomfort further away. And the range of our comfort expands. So this will accelerate the healing process. We will become stronger, more flexible, energetic. So even when we are sitting in a sukhasana to meditate, just to sit there and see what is really happening to your legs, to your back, to your neck, to your head. Is it in the right position or not? And keep on breathing. Stay there. Because in order to meditate for a longer period of time, you got to make sure that your back stays straight. Due to the lack of pain, our mind is free to concentrate on the space that occupies the region of the body, which is that part of the body which is being affected by that posture. That's how we help our body. This is when the second principle leading to perfection in posture, णधणसणद, mental absorption in the space, lies. So first, the physical body has to be in that kind of a position. It could be a konasana, it could be a garudasana, it could be a sarvangasana, any asana. So while you're doing the hatha yoga, you're helping your body, but make sure you combine it with the meditation also. This momentarily meditation also, it helps us. And that's what णधणसणद is. So anant is without an end. And most common meaning of anant actually is a space. So that's why there's a space element in us. Take your mind towards that space element. Or if you want to think that anant means God, any form of a God or energy. This Kundalini Shakti is also called anant. When we are able to stay in a posture effortlessly, we employ our mind to enter the space in the area most directly affected by the posture. Just remember that. And this also should be done effortlessly. Don't force yourself. So, prolonged, uninterrupted practice, we reach a point of complete mental absorption in that space. So, this is what he's telling us. And the end result is that we become clearer, stronger, and more intuitive. When we practice a broad range of asanas, like a sitting, standing, bending forward, bending backward, stretching on the sides also. We are doing reclining also and inversions also for a long time. And especially when we have observed all the prerequisites, we will acquire sufficient strength and even stamina to endure and eventually transcend all physical and emotional pain. That's what these yogis are promising us. And that is the subject of the next sutra. So asanas done properly. Okay? So effort we got to make, but effort put in effortlessly. That means you got to know your own body, your own apparatus, what is really happening inside, and bring the mind there. So then in the next verse he says, we'll look at it next week, but let's look at just as each word at least, so that you can spend some time thinking about it. Tataha dvand anabhi ghataha. Tata means from that. And from that means the asanas done this way. Dvand. Dvand is a pair of opposites. Anabhighata. An means lack of, like a no more, not. Abhi means from all around, every direction. Ghat means injury. So lack of injury. That's what it means. So from that comes lack of injury caused by the pairs of opposite. So Rishi Patanjali is proclaiming that mastery over asana enables us to remain free from injury. This is a monumental claim actually. After attaining victory over asana, a yogi is no longer subdued by the pairs of opposites. And pairs of opposites are heat and cold, and many other pleasant and unpleasant experiences which walk into our life. Sukh, dukh, man, apman, sardi, garmi, all of that. So he's making this claim over here, and we'll look at it in detail. What does it really mean for us? How the asana practice, done the way he is telling us to do, can help us reach this level where we are not being affected by the pairs of opposite, this duality. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.